Welcome back to Beauty Marks Podcast. My name is Elizabeth Savillon, and thank you for joining me on episode 52 of this podcast. On this week's episode, I have a very special guest, someone that I have been wanting on this podcast literally for almost a year, and she's finally here. And we are talking all things boundaries, just taking care of ourselves, just our friendship dynamic, just getting to know more about us and conversations that we have. So welcome to Beauty Marks Podcast, Ashley Crispin Sanchez.
Hi, Liz. Yes, thank you for having me here. I'm finally here.
Yes.
Finally.
Honestly, to do this podcast, it's been a mission, but I'm honored to have you and your wisdom and all of that today. Yes, because she's so wise. I tell her that all the time. I'm like, you have so much to say and to give. So
thank you, Liz. I appreciate it.
But she is one of my biggest supporters. And even before the podcast, even like accountability to like keep up my podcast, like, and like, okay, like what's going on? I haven't seen you post something. Like, she's very accountable to me, and I appreciate that.
Behind the scenes.
Yes, because this is one of the relationships that it's like, you might not know because we don't post. Like, I don't have that many pictures with her, but she's one of my closest friends.
I hate pictures.
Yes, which I don't know why, because she's done modeling. Just letting you guys know.
But I hate pictures. I was getting paid for that.
I guess so. If I pay you,
no.
Then I'll be like $10 a photo, please.
$10.
But so how did we meet, Ashley? So we met 8 years ago, but how was that?
So we met through your ex, because my husband was friends with your ex, and that's how the relationship started. But we really met at Valencia, going to school together. And like that, I feel like for a few years we were not close at all. But then after I got married, our relationship kind of got stronger.
Yeah, I feel like maybe our first hang, when I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I think that like we went to the Loop to either coffee.
We had Starbucks. Or no, was it Cooks A Million? Remember?
But that was after, I don't think that was our first time. But yeah, that was because we hadn't talked for a few months. And I felt tension. And so when I reached, that's the whole team. There's a whole story behind, but like I was going to be part of her wedding. We're just going to talk about that. I almost made the cut. So we were kind of, we were there. I was there in your life somehow.
Not like now.
No, but now it's like, I think we'll be friends for life.
Yes.
And if we're not, I'll go find you. I'll be like, you're my friend.
Where are you? You're my friend.
I'll be like, why aren't we close anymore? Because this is a lifelong.
No, I appreciate your friendship. I'm definitely glad that developed.
Yes, I agree. So today we're going to do, as an icebreaker, we're going to play a game that's called We're Not Really Strangers. Definitely recommend getting it. I've played it with my family, and we've done a few questions, and it's like deep, meaningful questions that make you like get to know someone at a deeper level. But also it's like things that you might not think of ever asking, which you know that I like asking questions. Ashley, Ashley's always like,
she does, for the love of God.
She's like, okay, enough with the questions. I'm like, I just want to know, okay? But that's just my personality. So we'll ask a few questions, and this will be also a way to get to know her and then me. So level 1 question. Okay. Let's start simple, Ashley. What does my phone wallpaper tell you about me?
Awkward silence.
So what is my phone wallpaper?
It is a picture of you, of your podcast.
Okay.
So
not a picture of me.
It is you.
It's a cartoon thing of me.
It's your picture.
Okay. Yes.
That's your baby. It tells me that your podcast is your baby.
It is my baby, and it's almost 1 year. Ooh. So your phone tells me, what it tells me is that your heart is in Italy because it's a picture of the water, and you love the water. So that's definitely you.
Yeah.
You need to go on a trip.
That was like my best time ever. So
your favorite memory?
I like to think that I'm still there.
I told her to take me to Europe, but she says that's an absolute no.
I love you, but I don't know about doing that.
I'm like, that would be such a fun trip to do. But she's like, it's just because of the pictures, because she thinks that everywhere I'm gonna be like, oh my god, I need a picture here, which is probably true.
I said that I'm not going to Paris with you.
So Italy's different.
It's different. It's different.
It's a
I feel like
different
you're
vibe.
gonna go all like crazy in Paris.
I get it.
Okay.
Well, we'll have to see them.
Okay.
What's your question?
Do you think I intimidate others? Why or why not?
I think so, because of more though your face and the way that you not because it's more because you're more serious into yourself. And so people probably feel like they're like, oh, like she's quiet, she's to herself, like she's very mature, you know? Like, so I feel like people feel intimidated to like approach you sometimes because they feel like you have it like, you know, you're like,
it's not like that,
another
but
level.
I can see why.
But I know you're not like that. I know you are very open, but you're very selective, which is wise on who you give access to you. So not everyone gets access.
No. I protect myself.
Yes.
Okay, so for you, yes, I do. I do think people feel intimidated by you, just the way you carry yourself. Also, you carry yourself very like you're secure about yourself and you're very confident and you obviously we all have insecurities.
Like I struggle so much.
I know, but I know that other people, I feel like other people can feel intimidated by you.
That's interesting. But yeah, I definitely.
And working with you, I feel like, because guys, we work together serving.
Did. That was
at
a fun
restaurant.
We have a picture. We have a picture.
We're not posting that picture.
That'll be the promotion to the.
No. It's like, we are not posting that picture, but just we work together.
We did.
Serving.
We did.
And yeah, I do think that a lot of people feel intimidated by you.
Interesting. Yeah, I feel like that's very the opposite of what I try to be or like who I really am. Because I feel like I am like someone that is transparent and like, you know, like more real than like just having all this stuff together. And even the confidence if I struggle with that stuff. So just letting you guys all know that you can approach me. If you see me, say hi. Okay, I'll say hi. What do you think I'm most likely to splurge on, spend my money on?
Expensive clothes.
It's not no, false, like Dwight says. That is not true. Not expensive clothes. But I am a good, savvy shopper.
True. Okay.
I would never buy a shirt more than $20.
Just saying that the next time that you have to move,
you're not going to do my closet.
I've done twice already.
I know my clothes. I do have a lot of clothes. I'm not going to lie.
She has a lot of clothes. What you have from your mom? You get it from your mom.
Yeah, my mom has twice, would you say?
No, I would say more. 3
to 4 times more clothes than me.
Yes.
Yeah. It's definitely a thing for us. She dresses up all the time, every day, heels, everything.
Super cute. I love it.
The matching fit with the purse, with the shoes. Yeah, so I get that from her. So yes, but I definitely would splurge on that. I feel like for you, it would probably be things for your health or your dog. I think it has like you would invest.
I think food, like I can see like spending like green juices and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And my dog, I do spend a lot of money on him.
Yeah, Liam. He gets all. Where is he, by the way?
He's at my mom's.
Oh, okay. Wow. I was like, I just noticed.
Very wrong.
I know. Where is he? Like he usually comes and like wants to get pet
Grandma
by me.
wanted him over.
Oh, okay.
He had a sleepover with grandma.
Fun.
Yeah.
Fun. Level 2, connection. So this one is, what question are you trying to answer most in your life right now?
Where am I going?
Where
am I going? I think that's my everyday question. What am I doing?
That's real.
Yes.
That's real. I think it's the same for me. I'm like, what is my purpose in life? What am I doing?
Like, okay, where exactly am I going to?
I think so. But I think it's also our age. Like we're in that age of like, we're trying to figure out setting ourselves up for when in our 30s, just to be set. So
30s, girl.
In our what I'm saying is that we're working hard.
27.
When I'm
like tomorrow.
Okay, that's like 3 months. You're 3 years. 3 months, 3 years from now, you're 30. What I'm saying is that we're trying to figure out that stuff so that in our 30s we're like established. So it's a normal thing.
To give me anxiety. So in 3 years, I have to have it all together.
No. That's what's wrong with my thinking. I'm just saying that we're working towards that. Okay. So that's good. Okay. We're not in a rush right now. We're in our 20s.
Okay. Did we answer both of us?
Yeah.
Okay. So how are you really?
How am I really? I'm tired. I'm tired. But honestly, I've been feeling a little bit discouraged lately, because I feel like because of the perfect question before, it's like, what am I doing? Mm-hmm. I think that question has gotten me recently, like a little bit like, what am I doing? Where am I going? What am I doing with my life? So I feel like I have felt sometimes discouraged of like, is what I'm doing, does it matter? So like, I feel like I'm dealing with that and like trying to get out of that like rut and mentality. Cause I know that like, we might not think that we're doing a lot, but like everything that we're doing is one more step closer to what we're going to do eventually. So
that's what I told you. It's going to take time.
I know. Just anything you build.
Yeah.
Yes. How about you? How are you really?
I'm also tired. I'm tired. I feel like that's my best favorite word. Tired.
Just tired. But emotionally tired, like drained.
Yeah. It's been a few rough weeks emotionally dealing with, like family and perfect subject, boundaries, and all of those good things. But, just taking it day by day and trying to do better every day. But yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I'm here for you.
I know. I'm here for you too.
We're here for each other. And so we're just going through it. We're just going through a rough patch.
Okay.
The next one is, what's the most pain you've ever been in that wasn't physical?
Wow, that's a good question. I was really young, but I think my parents divorced. I think that's the most pain that I have felt before.
Wow. That's deep.
Yeah. I think that, I always go back to that. So I think that is my biggest pain in my life. Wow. And it was an ugly divorce. It wasn't like a peaceful divorce. And I was very close to both of them. So, yeah.
Do you feel like you lost one parent?
I did.
Because
I lost my dad. I mean, he's good. He's alive. Yeah. But I lost that relationship. Like how it could have been. We still talk, but it's not as close as it could have been. So yeah, I think that's my biggest. How about you?
Thank you for sharing. I feel like a heartbreak. That is probably, when I look back, like that definitely has been the hardest pain. Still healing from that.
No, that is really hard.
Yeah. So I think it's just like losing yourself in another person and then losing the idea of what you thought would be with a person and the future that you thought with a person and just like completely like not knowing what to do with your life anymore. It's like your whole life, like you feel like your whole life is over. And then I started getting symptoms, really, really bad things that were like with my body. Really, so I feel like that was a very painful, like I wouldn't want to ever go through that again.
Experience that again.
No,
I get it.
I think when you're just very attached to someone, but like, I feel like that was just unhealthy for me. So yeah, I would say that. Really?
Well, now on
to level 3 questions. Level 3 is, how does one earn your vulnerability? How have I earned it? And then how can I earn more?
Okay, that's a long question. I think personally, for me, it's just by sticking in my life and just showing. For me, that's the biggest thing. Life, if you really want to be in my life is not easy. Not that anybody is, but I have really ups and downs and they're not easy. And I've made it very clear I don't have the time to be dedicating and to be always that happy friend. And I'm very honest with that, you know, and I don't expect anyone. So when you show me the love, you know, that you will be there no matter what. And I think that's the way that you have showed me. That was for me one of the things that made me felt really close to you. And that was, you know, I've been on the floor literally crying that I couldn't get up, and you just sit there and like, okay, when you're ready, we'll get up. So I think that for me, seeing that those moments, I'm going to get emotional.
I know, me too.
Okay, guys. I think just seeing that in those moments, like, it wasn't too much for you. You're like, okay, so I'm going to stay here. Whenever you're ready, we'll get up together. I think that's how you earned it. And I think that's, for me, how you earn. So, okay, that shows me that I can just be 100% true to you.
Aww, that's so sweet. We're literally low-key.
Guys.
Teary-eyed back here.
That's what you get when you have two girls.
Yes. And then just like being raw and honest. But no, I completely agree. I think when someone shows you that they're there, but also that they're like not going to judge you, like that you feel safe, like you feel like no matter what. And I feel like with you, I've felt so embarrassed to sometimes tell you things because I'm like, I look up to you so much and I don't want to like disappoint you, but I feel like you have created a space that I can tell you something and be like, okay, I know that this is wrong. And I know that like, I'm not like asking you to praise what I did or what I'm going through or what I'm thinking, but like you can just like hear me out and just like love me still and be like, you know, I don't agree with what happened or I'm sorry that happened, but like, I'm still here for you. Like nothing that I will ever do will make you feel like you don't want to.
I'm going to love you less.
Yes.
Yeah, you do the same thing. I feel the same way.
Yeah. So it's like we say things sometimes and I'm like, okay, like this is so raw. Like I know that this is not maybe a right feeling to feel, but like I'm just being completely honest. And then like we're a judge-free zone. We'll tell, but we do challenge each other. Like we don't just like be like, oh, okay, yeah, continue doing that. No, we're like, you know, I'm sorry that you're going through that, or like, wow, like that's rough, or like that emotion's real. However, you know, we do challenge each other to be like, okay, we need to like level up, like, but let's like work on that, or like, you know. So I feel like that is a relationship that you're vulnerable and you're willing to like be transparent, you know. So we've built over time, like how she said, it's like been over time, and like we've grown and evolved and gone through some stuff, which has made our relationship much closer, you know, but us being like more real, not like trying to be like, okay, everything's like perfect. Yeah, everything's good. Like
if anything, I'm like, was I too harsh on Liz today? Like, I still love you.
I know, but I do love you, Ashley. You're a friend of a lifetime. I honestly, one of the best gifts that I have, that I can say that I have, is like a friend. Like you are a gift that I have that I'm like, wow, like that is more precious than, we even talked about that. Like sometimes like our partners like are amazing, but like having one valuable friend that you're like, you know, you can count on a lot means a lot.
Yeah, it does.
So today, that was so good. So today we're going to be talking about boundaries. And I did a poll this week and was asking people, like, you know, I was talking about therapy and just my thoughts on that. Everybody knows that I have I'm pretty vocal about like, you know, going to therapy, mental health and all of that. But most people, like, I think it was like 60%, said that setting boundaries was very difficult for them. And most of the reason why was because of guilt. And because also they felt like people don't respect their boundaries. So those were like the main two things. And I'm like, that's so interesting because we talk a lot about boundaries and how that has changed our life. We're still a work in progress.
Oh, yes.
And we're not experts on anything.
So
I'm not a
this
psychologist.
is completely our opinion.
Yes. Our own opinion, our own experiences and all of that. But I thought that this is like a real conversation to have. So for you, Ashley, what has been the hardest part about setting boundaries?
I think definitely the guilt. I think that's definitely the hardest part when you have to set boundaries with the people that you love and care about. It's just, you feel really guilty. And it's hard to let that go because you're telling the people that you love no. In a way.
Yeah.
You're saying no. And no one likes to say no. You know, that's something, I mean, at least for me, I don't love saying no. So I feel like that it's really hard, and that was really hard for me to deal with, the guilt. Eventually, you just start like getting used to respecting yourself enough that you understand that, okay, I love you, but it's important for me. So for my own sake, for my own health, and even for me to be better for you, I need to set these boundaries. And what I was telling you is communication. I feel like the guilt a lot of the times just comes when there's not enough communication. So once you let the person know clearly your intentions and you let them know, I love you and I care about you, but I'm setting this because whatever's happening, the situation is affecting me. So let me set these boundaries for me because it's affecting me this much. Okay, that doesn't mean that I can be there for you. I can be there for you with this much, to this extent. But yeah.
So for you, was it kind of like figuring out that something was, how did you know like a boundary needed to be placed?
I feel if you just listen to your body, because I feel like over the years I've experienced a lot of anxiety. I didn't know what anxiety was. I didn't know what depression was. So I experienced a lot of anxiety. And once you get in touch with your body and in touch with what's really happening through your head, you understand it. So like when you're having this conversation with someone and the other person is just making you feel some sort of type of way, you're like, hey, like I know, like, you know, your heartbeat starts going up, you start sweating, you feel uncomfortable, and you're like, then you know, you're like, wait, like no. Or if it's taking too much of your time, if you had a to-do list that day and you drop everything for that person and you don't feel the same way, you know that person wouldn't do the same thing for you. Because that happens too. You're constantly being that person that is always there for others. But then when it comes to you, when it comes to your turn that you need, then they're like, oh, but I'm busy right now. And then you notice that they set their boundaries.
Oh, yeah.
Very clear and hardcore. And you're like, oh, but I dropped my entire day for you.
Yeah.
And like, no, but I have to work and I have to go to the gym and I have to do my...
You're like, oh, okay.
Oh,
cool.
Okay. So you find yourself doing all of these things. You're like, okay, so, you know, I can own my time. I can own my life and set these boundaries. That does not mean that you don't care about other people and your family and your friends. That just means that you're taking care of yourself and your mental health.
Yeah, that's so good that you said that. Most people, like, you realize that those people do have boundaries because they're willing to say no. And then you're like, oh, wow, I thought we're both out here saying, yeah, it's like, no, like you're doing it to yourself. Like nobody asked you to overextend. I feel for me, the guilt was people being mad at, or not understanding, people like kind of reacting in a certain way when or saying that I was being mean. If I kind of was like, hey, like this is where I draw the line. Or like, for example, like if it's a fight and someone's cursing at me or speaking very, very loudly, for me, I just don't understand personally when someone's screaming. I understand that you get angry, but I personally feel like out of respect for someone else, you don't have to scream. Like you don't have to yell or you don't have to curse. Like that does not make the argument more effective if your voice is louder than mine. So I feel like when people would get very much like that, I would have to be like, I need you to please stop cursing at me. Or like, if you want to continue this conversation, you need to lower your voice. And if it continues happening, then you know?
It's funny that you say that, because that was one of the things that I had to let go growing up. Our moms, I don't know, I'm going to talk about my mom. That's the way that you handle situations at home, was screaming. Was just, that was the way that we communicate. So I grew up learning those things and doing those things. And when I met my husband,
completely different.
It's completely different. He's like, but why are you raising your voice though? Like, can we not talk?
Oh my goodness. You're like, this is not what we do.
And I'm like, oh, but you're right. And he's like, but we can talk about it. So he was actually one of the ones that he was like, but we can sit down and talk about it. But you don't have to talk to me that way. You don't have to disrespect me. Like, you're totally right. And so he like helps me understand that. But it's really funny because I grew up thinking and learning that that was the way that you solve situations. And for him, that was one of the boundaries. Like, no. Like, we don't do this here. We talk. We talk and we can sit down, and when we're both calm, we can have a conversation. And now I'm very much like that. So when I have a situation with a family member, I'm like, nope, not in my house, not near me. Not even my whole vibe. You're gonna miss my whole vibe.
Yeah.
No.
Good vibes only.
Yes, good vibes only around me.
Yes, that's so real, because I think that we think that because other people do it and they might get their point across, or they might seem to get an effective way, but boundaries are not to control anybody else. Boundaries are to protect yourself. So like if that person's deciding to still scream and yell and do all of that, that's okay. They're just not going to do it around you. So then you can say, I'm going to need to excuse myself, or like, whenever you're ready to talk about this, I will be over here. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Like you kind of set the parameters. Same with like even coming over. I think we talked about that, about like if someone's always showing up at your house, you love them, you want to see them. But if you say them, if you tell them, hey, so like, if you can please call me like 30 minutes before you come, or an hour before you come, or to text me that day, like, whatever your boundary is, then I would really appreciate it. I still want to see you. And I understand that maybe you're in the area sometimes and you think about me, and I would love to see you. However, like, please, these are like the guidelines, And if they continue to not do that, then there's consequences. Then you either don't answer the door. You tell them I'm not available. I'm so sorry. Because I feel like we train people really on how to treat us, good or bad. We really set the standard of how people should respect us.
And that's okay. I feel like we sometimes feel like everyone just has the right to us. And that's not true. We own our own life and our time and our, mental health and all of this. And I think I told you about it. Like for me, my family, I think it was the biggest thing, setting boundaries with my family. So like now they know. I think it's really funny that they know not to bother me Sundays. Like they already know, unless it's an emergency, they do not call or text. Because over the years I have, set those boundaries over. It took time over and over again. Okay, so Sunday. Okay, so we're gonna have a family dinner. It can't be Sunday because Sunday is for me and Ronnie, for me and my husband. So we're gonna do it Friday or Saturday. Okay, if that's okay. If not, you guys can still do it. I'm just not gonna be able to go Sunday. I'm not saying you can't have it. You can go ahead and still do it, but I'm not gonna be able to go that day because Sunday is for me and my husband. That's the only day we have off together. So now over the years, now they know. They don't even ask. They just know. Unless it's an emergency, they don't bother us at all.
And that has worked for you better because then you're like, okay, like I'll plan things with you guys on another day, or we can do stuff another day. Because like how you said earlier, we're able to give a lot more of ourselves when we're also doing things not out of guilt or shame or because we have to do things. It's because genuinely, like, it's our solid yes. Like our no means a no and our yes means a yes. I know through therapy, I've had to work through that of like, my no's were like with a question mark. It was like, no, but someone can convince me to change that. For example, if I said I'm not available Saturday, but someone calls me like, hey, I really, really need you. I'd be like, oh, okay, like, let me look at my calendar. Let me see like what I can do. Like, oh my God, they might need me, or, oh my God, I might feel like they might think I'm not a good friend, or I'm not a good daughter, or whatever, if I don't show up, so like I started negotiating my boundaries instead of just saying no is a no, and you have to reaffirm your no.
And of course there's obviously, if you call me on a Sunday and it's an emergency, obviously, or my family calls me, obviously, but you need to stay with your no, and your no means no and your yes means yes. Yeah,
because people know that too.
Oh yeah.
I feel like most of the time, and we've talked about this between us, it's like when we have felt like the most like just taken advantage of, super like busy, like we're overcommitting ourselves, we're like just feeling like everybody's using us, everyone's like, it's usually because we're lacking boundaries, because we're we want to say no, we feel uncomfortable doing certain things, we don't have time genuinely to do stuff, but we feel so guilty, so then we're like overcommitting ourselves to so many things, and then we feel burnt out.
And bitter. I don't know. I have found myself losing sleep, like getting limited sleep, sleeping 4 hours just so I can fit everyone, because I have 2 jobs. I'm going to school. Okay. So I have to take care of my family. I have to take care of my husband, and just overcommitting. And then you just feel better. You wake up, you don't want to do anything. You're giving attitude to everyone. You're not yourself. You're tired. You're exhausted. So how is that doing any good to anybody?
Yeah.
The difference will be me taking my time for me to feel better about myself, setting the boundaries. So when I do something with them, then I'm happy and I'm there. Emotionally, I'm invested in whatever we're doing, and I'm excited about whatever we're doing.
Yeah.
Instead of just like saying yes to everything and just being there, not really.
You're not even present at that point, because you're like, it's just a checklist. Like, okay, got this saucy thing, and this person at least is fine for the next 2 weeks. It's like, but genuinely, if you're not like, if that person is crossing your boundaries, disrespecting you, or you feel a certain way every time you go, it's like, I get that there's some things with family that's very, it is complicated. Like, I know people that have toxic environments that sometimes they're like, but you just don't understand my family. Like, you don't know that in my family, like, if you don't do this, if you don't show up on these events, then you're considered the villain. And I think that with boundaries, you have to be willing to be okay with either losing the relationship, changing the dynamics of the relationship, and just kind of being seen sometimes as that person in the beginning. Yes. Because people won't understand at first. I wasn't raised around knowing what boundaries were. Like, my family, like, it was like, you just say yes to everything. You're there church-wise. When it comes to church boundaries, you're there 5 times a week. With family, everyone's allowed in your house anytime, whenever they come. You should be accessible to everybody. So like, that was what I was taught. And then when I realized, I'm like, oh, you can actually say no. Like, and it's okay.
I feel like once you realize that your health is non-negotiable, it's non-negotiable. How I feel, that we don't discuss about it. If I don't feel okay, I don't feel okay. And once you start prioritizing those things, and I say this because I have seen and found myself in a really dark place where you were there with me. I did not know how to get out of that hole of anxiety and depression. And for one of the things was because I was just overcommitting myself in my time. That was just a season of life that was really hard. My husband was going through a lot. My family was going through a lot. So I remember that season clearly. I was just living for others. 100%. I don't know if you remember that time. It was 100% my time. From the moment I woke up to the moment I went to sleep, it was dedicated to others, to go to work, and then in between, doing things for other people. And I found myself really bad. Like, I found myself in really bad shape, not able to sleep, having anxiety attacks. I didn't know what that was. I remember just being scared because I didn't know what an anxiety attack was. And so, like, dealing with all of that until I realized what it was. I'm like, well, I'm actually not even having time to do my hair. Well, actually, like, I don't even walk by myself for 10 minutes. I don't even know what music I like. I don't know anything about myself because I'm just lost in everyone's lives. And then over time, you realize that all of this that you're doing for others, they might not even notice that much. And that's when you're like, oh, no. So then I can do this for me then.
Yeah.
Because you're doing so much. And for them, it's like, oh, yeah, she's here. Like, well, no. You don't understand that I'm here.
But all the stuff that I had to go through to get here.
So they don't appreciate that. And then so you're like, okay, so it's okay if I stayed back a little bit. It's okay if I'm not there once. It's okay if I'm not at that dinner. And, you start giving yourself that importance and, your value of your time and your health.
I remember we talked one time of like, when people depend on you so much that they're like, oh no, she got it. Like, she will pull through. Yes. She got it. But like, it's like, no one says that like you got it, but like, that like you're the one that thinks about all the details. So like, you'll make sure. But I don't remember exactly the situation, but it was like, we were talking that like, I think it was you that you're like, I'm just not gonna do it. Like, today, literally, I'm gonna show up and I'm not gonna do it. And literally, you said, you're like, some things were missing, but overall they were able to pull through. So it's like, then you realize you're like, wow, like people are able to do things. We just enable people to rely on us because we volunteer ourselves to do it. No one's asking us to do certain things or overcommit. Like, because then we had that guilt, that anger of like, well, do you look at me and my schedule? And then like, people are like, I've been sleeping fine. I'm perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Like,
no, I'm telling you, I only slept 4 hours, but they slept there 8 hours. And I'm over here with 4 hours and doing everything. And they're sitting. I'm like, why are you sitting though? Like,
it creates an anger.
But that's us though, because they're not asking. So like, that's when I learned I'm doing this to myself. So this is how I set boundaries. And for them, it's different So it might look like you're pulling away, and it might look like you're like, in the beginning.
Yeah.
But then they understand and they get used to it. And it's like, this is how much I'm able to give you.
Yeah.
That's it.
We were talking about how it can be painful when you're setting boundaries. I mean, any change that you're doing, when you're working on yourself, when you're healing, when you're changing some things about yourself, because it's first honestly realizing the flaws in yourself, because you're like, okay, wait a second. Like you kind of step back to be like, I did this. Like I said this not this way. Like it's not that it's nobody's fault, but it's like at the end of the day, you realize where you lack knowing what you want, knowing what you need, and like listening to your body and like what is going on. So then I feel like once you're able to do that, then you step into like, okay, I'm going to start setting boundaries. You don't sometimes have to tell people. Some people, like toxic people, I feel like you sometimes you just can't talk to them. And so I completely understand people that say, but you just don't understand my family. You don't have to explain yourself to people. Sometimes you just set the boundary. So for example, when people speak to you in a certain way, if people always bring up a certain question that you feel uncomfortable, you just either don't go. Sometimes you either say, hey, like, I really appreciate if you just don't ask me that, or I just don't feel comfortable talking about that. There's certain things that you just kind of like have to play around with. But then there's other times that you can, how you said, communicate to people that are really close to you and that you feel like, okay, like I love you. However, like I'm only available on this time, or I can only do this, or like, we're going to need to work together because I can't take all the load, like in certain situations. But when it comes to setting boundaries, once you set the boundary, that part, that phase, I don't know if it happens to you, that you just kind of grieve sometimes, like it's some pain that you feel because you still care about someone else's emotions and you see that they're either like upset or uncomfortable or they, so you dealing with that, like, how is that for you?
What I feel, and I don't know if it's happened to you, I just feel a sense of like, I'm not as close to that person because you have like stepped back a little bit and then you see them like, like when you say no, they're like, oh, okay. So like they go on their own and they're like, have their own lives. And then like, so you feel like, oh, wow, like we're not as close anymore, but I did this for my own sake. Setting boundaries can be really painful. I feel like it can be painful. You're saying no to your loved ones. And there's a little bit of like the relationship changes in that, and you grieve for that, like what I'm saying. So you feel you're not as close to that person, or you feel like you're not involved in that person's life anymore. Whenever the person that used to call you all the time, because you set that boundary, now they don't call you, so you don't really know what's happening, and they don't call you as much, so you don't know. And that when you are close to someone, it can be a little painful, but at the end, it feels kind of good. I don't know if it's happened to you. It's just kind of refreshing, and it's kind of like gives you that space to breathe when you don't, you don't have that commitment there all the time. Yeah, that gives you a freedom.
Yeah, to just be yourself and make decisions because you want to do them, not because you're forced into them. We're both like this now, but like we were very different before. Of like, I would always, like on my days off, it was like I would fill my schedule. I would have a whole bunch of like checking in, like who's gonna check in the box, because I feel like I definitely was more processing my emotions through other people. So like, I feel like that was a distraction for me. When I think about it now, I'm like, I think that that's why I wanted to be around a lot of people. And I genuinely was more extroverted than I am right now too. But I've now realized that I need like a day, and you're like that too. It's time for yourself. Like,
I cannot be a healthy human being. I cannot. I'll lose it. I need my alone time.
Like just your time. And even if you're off, like even if you're off doing nothing, I have literally been like, I know I'm doing nothing today, but I genuinely just want to like be at home or like just do nothing.
That's a huge change for you. I remember you were never home. Like Liz, like you're never home.
You're always busy. Yeah, I think that changed by me living on my own. I really think that time changed me so much because I got to do so many things by myself. And I'm like, wow, like it's I'm okay. Yeah. Like it's nice, And now like it's still my parents to this day. They think it's weird of some things I do by myself. But I'm like, I just genuinely don't mind that anymore. And it's good for me because I feel like before I feel like I had to like, it was like energy, because even when you hang out with someone or like you're meeting new people or like it's just, even with working, like with what I do, it's like, is energy. Like you're giving energy and just time and like focus in that. And I feel like that can be draining. You know, I realized something about myself too, that I like, because I feel like I'm more of an empath, you feel people's emotions more. And I talked about that on a previous episode. So then it is draining, because then you're like taking on other people's stuff.
Yeah, I'm like
and
that too. And I think that's why we both feel like deeply, well, boundaries is so important to us, because we take in everything. So if you're sad, I'm sad. And if you're happy, then okay, we're both happy. And then we put always our needs for last.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know about you, but sometimes I'm like, I don't know how I feel. Yeah. Because I'm so busy thinking about what everybody else feels and how I can help them with whatever they feel, that I don't know how I feel. And that's super unhealthy. No. That is so unhealthy when you're not in touch with your emotions and you're not in touch with your own self.
Yeah. And some people do that as a projection also, to not deal with their own emotions. So a lot of people, like you probably guys know some people that they're always like in everybody's business and they're always like making sure everyone's taken care of. That's also a mechanism of like, because they don't want to sit down with those uncomfortable feelings of like, what's going on with me? Like, am I feeling sad, depressed? Am I feeling disappointed? Am I feeling lonely? Am I feeling, you know, like those feelings that you don't want to feel sometimes, or you don't know how to process them. So you use other people's feelings, you know, and you're like, well, as long as I'm fixing them, it's like, you kind of feel like you're in control of something because you're out of control. So then you use someone else's situation as like, okay, well, let me fix it. How can I help you? Like, you need this. I got you. Like, we'll get you into therapy if you need, like, you're worried about them, but you're not thinking about like you, like maybe I like need to get some help, or I need to, that goes into even codependent relationships. Yes. Like, has that ever been hard for you in friendships or relationships to kind of like not lose yourself in them? Or
very hard. I think my entire life, pretty much, I was just lost in other people's lives. I think not so much until recently that I started finding myself and giving myself like the right,
like a
voice, and like I need to take care of myself. But codependency can be very ugly, and that is, to me, is so sad and so painful to have to be codependent to relationships. And once the book is really good, Codependency No More, it's so good. And I was highlighting the book and I stopped because I'm like, I'm just gonna highlight the entire
just like
book.
The whole book.
Good. So I just stopped highlighting it. It's so good, but yet so painful once you realize, like, oh my goodness, I've been doing this my entire life. And how you give people the right to feel that way about you, right? So like, I have situations with people that they think that I have to do certain things. I don't have to. I don't have to. So like, for this long, I've been doing this for you. I don't have to, because I'm responsible for myself. I'm not responsible about your happiness. I'm not responsible for your security, your safety, your, you know, all of these things. I'm responsible for myself. As a person that loves you, I can help you, but I'm not responsible. So codependency, like when you become that person that's always there to save someone, and that becomes that safety to someone, and it becomes that happy place, I think that's a huge responsibility. And I think no one deserves that big of a pressure to be someone's happiness, and to be that one person that you depend. Like, what happens if I fail?
Which you will.
What happens? What happens then? Like, this many people are gonna go down too. That's not fair. That's a lot of weight on my shoulders. That's just too much.
Yeah, no human can do that. That's a God thing. Like, that's something that God can only do, to fill those places. But that's not a responsibility for any human.
But it's nice that you say that. It's nice that you say that, because I feel we do that to people. We kind of make people our God.
Oh yeah, we idolize them.
So no. But if I just go to that person, he can fix it. If I just go, she can help me with that. So we give people this responsibility that we don't, where humans are not able to carry all of that. And that can be really hard. So when you let that happen to me, for example, me, when I eventually, like, I was letting people do that to me, in the sense of I was allowing them for me to become that person to them. I don't know if I make sense.
Yeah, like they rely fully on you, like your emotions are
but I allow that, you know, slowly,
out of a genuine place, because it's always a good place, but it ends up
But then when you see the huge mess that you have allowed and how much weight you have over your shoulders, and then how do I now take this out and break it and say like, no, I don't want this anymore. After you allowed it for so many years, that's hard.
Yeah.
I think it's really hard, you know, to step back after you have, you know, take it.
Of course, because the person also doesn't know. That always will leave you as like, who am I? What are my emotions and what are they? Like you lose the line of you, where does you end and where does the other person begin? So you're merged like together. I know like you know this about me, but I've had very codependent relationships, like in romantic relationships. And I know that always came from like a place of like me thinking that I was helping, but I wasn't. Like, so I would try to save. So it's like, if you're feeling depressed, I feel depressed too. We're depressed together. And let's get you the help for that. But like, it's my responsibility.
No, and you would go and you would search for the best therapist. And then you will bring the information. It's like, but who told you that I wanted to go to therapy?
Yeah.
I don't want to go. And you like spend this many hours, you know,
and do all this, and I'm like, and I'll pay for it, and I'll do all this. Like, no worry, like, don't worry about it. Like, I got it. Like, I'm Jesus on this earth, which is such a like, it's crazy how we say that. It's like we idolize people. We really, really do. And but that does come from not only a lack of boundaries, but also our lack of identity. Like, we don't know who we really are, and we don't know who we are also in Christ. We don't know who we are, like what we want. Like, I feel like it's just like the limbo that we're in personally, or maybe stuff that we haven't dealt with. So then we're continuing that for someone else, you know, we're being that crutch. And what happens is that we enable them. I remember that I told you, I'm like, it's crazy when we kind of step back, we end up seeing how that person was going to do something regardless of us. And that was hard for me because I thought that if I didn't show up, if I wasn't there, that person would not do anything. Oh no, they'll do it.
No, yeah. When they're ready. I come with my harsh comments. I'm like, Liz, you just
they wanted to, they went. Yeah, and then that comment, say it.
No, you say it. I already said
I remember one time that she told me the realest thing, and this comes with my friendships, my relationships. She was like, Liz, I think that you think you're more important in someone else's life than you really are. And I'm like, wow. Like, that sounds harsh, but it was honestly what I needed to hear.
But it obviously comes from a place
it comes
so
with
much love.
No, because she was like hearing me, like I was crying.
She was crying.
Yeah, I was very emotional about the situation. And she told me, she's like, Liz, I think that you genuinely think that you're at a different place in that person's life than they have put you there to be. So for you, they're like that number one person in your life, but you're not that for them. So that's why they treat you in this way. That's why because they don't see you with those eyes. They don't see you with that way of like, I'm going to sacrifice everything.
And it's okay, because we've talked about this. There's different levels of relationships. So it's okay if you're not there, and you have to understand that's okay, because we have friendships too. Like, you know, I'm not going to go cry to them, or I'm not going to say like whatever's happening like deep in my life, but I'll hang out with them, you know, I'll go out with them just to have fun. Now, would I be hurt if they go cry with somebody else? No, because I know the place that I have in their lives, and, you know, vice versa, the place that they have in my life. Yeah. So once you understand where you're at, and you don't take it personal. Yeah. You don't take it personal.
It isn't personal.
It's okay. It's okay that you're not, you know, like you just do not become this close to that person. That's okay. But you can still go out and get lunch. Yeah. You can still share certain things in life. You're just not that close, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's so real. I know in intimate relationships, sometimes that's hard to not take things personal, but I genuinely feel like even when people act in a certain way, they're only acting out of the capacity that they're able to and of what they know. So sometimes they're not ready for whatever change. So sometimes, like, let's say someone's battling with depression, maybe they eventually will get there, and it's hard. It's a hard walk to walk through someone with, like, or if they deal with anger or they have addiction, like, you know, all those other things that are real and hard. And I'm not an expert in that, but however, I always have heard and have learned that it's like, it's whenever they're ready, whenever they're at that point of acceptance, when they want to, it's not imposing our help, even though it comes from a good place. And then even with the whole, depending on what place you are in someone's life, with friendships, I have had to learn that not everyone, it's okay if that friend is just for a good time. And it's okay if a friend is not available on this day, on this special event. And even for you, I know this for you is like, for example, like even last year for my birthday, we kind of had it wasn't a discussion, but it was like a kind of like, hey, I would love to be there, but like because of the virus, you weren't able to be there. You weren't like, and I know that there was kind of like that little tension. Like, I just wanted you to know that like, I'm not upset with you. Like, not trying, like, I fully understand. But for example, I would always want you, like, it's like, hello, you have to come to my birthday, or you have to be at all these events for me. But if you have either something going on, something just that you can't show up for, like, I also need to be understanding, because it's not your responsibility. That's a lot of pressure to put on you too, even if you have a title. That's why I don't like using titles.
Of course. But then to me, it's also like, you would never want someone to be there not wanting to be there.
Yeah.
Okay, so like if it's really important to you, I will do my best, as long as it's not compromising something really big on my life.
Yeah.
You know?
Very important.
That's very important. So for example, for you, that situation, for me, it was compromising the situation with the virus.
Yeah, the
I
safety.
would love to be there for your birthday, of course. I would love to be there for your birthday, but that was a compromise that my family was not willing to take at the moment, because I was putting at risk a lot of people that I care that are very unhealthy at the moment. So for me, that was a non-negotiable. I'm not going to put my family on risk for that.
Yeah.
I love you and I want to be there for you, and it's sad I can't be there for you, but that's a non-negotiable. Now, when somebody is like setting those boundaries again, but if you're like nonstop constantly inviting someone and they're not dropping anything and they're not making any sacrifices to be there, then you're like, okay.
You have to understand.
Yes, you have to understand. It is what it is, okay? And then slowly what happens is then you realize then, okay, so that person I might not be in that person's life like I think I am. So then, okay, so maybe we're not as close, you know? Because if you invite 20,000
like
over time that person cannot make it, then okay, it's okay too. Then, well, okay, I take a step back and I realize I like kind of like visualize again. Okay, where do we stand in this friendship?
Yeah. But not personal to like.
It's not personal.
Because sometimes they're also going through their own stuff. They have their own way. They don't know how to communicate to you. Hey, this is, you know, or maybe the relationship is changing and you've just grown apart, and that doesn't mean that you have to be enemies either. Like that was always hard for me because I felt like if I'm not super close to someone, like where am I with a person? Like I have to have like a certain standard. That's why honestly, I just genuinely don't like titles. Like I'm like, we're friends, we're cool. Like we have a good time, but I'm not going to be like, you're on this category. Like meaning like tell them like you are the bestest friend and I can't live without you. And if you hang out with someone else, I'm super jealous. And I like, no, like you just have to let people be and not take things so personal in that way. So, and that just makes you more free.
It does.
It doesn't like something else that I'm learning is about attachments. Like when you understand that like people like come and go and not put so much like attachment to things, like I feel like you live more freely and it's not as painful because you understand that like life kind of happens, people dynamics change, and it doesn't mean that like it can sometimes grieve, like sometimes you grieve certain relationships, grieve family dynamics, intimate relationships, but at the end of the day, it's like you're just more at peace because you're like, you know, like I don't hate them, you know, like I still wish them the best. If I see them one day, I do, but I'm not gonna suffer.
No, I agree. It brings a lot of freedom. And I feel like I've lived like that. Like I don't have a lot of friends, and I think it's because of that, in the sense of like that sounds like really bad. Really sad. I have friends.
She has friends, but
friends.
Reality, as you get older, you have a smaller group of quality friends.
Yes. But you come to realize that it's okay. You know, it's okay. And when you come into like everybody and everything in your life has a season. So you have friends that are so much fun and that you love them, because I truly love some of my friends, but I know, and I've told you this, I know as soon as there's a change in life, that's it. That's not longer gonna be there. But that's okay. You enjoy it in that moment. You love them, and that's it, you know? And you keep going. It's just season. It's a season. Everything, you know, some people come into your life for just a season, and that's okay.
And you have to learn the letting go of that.
Yeah.
into another one.
Because I don't know, I remember thinking when I was younger that everyone that I met was gonna be my friend forever.
Oh yeah,
forever. Can you imagine? I would have like 30 friends by now.
Yes,
forever.
No, and it doesn't work out that way. Honestly, as you get older, I feel like I can count the real friends.
Me too.
And again, I still have friends that I can go out for coffee with, or I can see on one day, or we talk about marketing or whatever the stuff. But it's not all the time, and that's okay too. If you're not all the time, because I've even talked to you, I'm like, I know that once like we like have children, when it's gonna change. Our dates are gonna be like us sitting next to each other, probably breastfeeding or like looking like a mess, or like I'm gonna help you do laundry. Like it's gonna look so different than us like going out, or us like just spending hours together. Like it's gonna be very different.
But I think that's why it's so important to find those friendships that are able to evolve with you in life.
Yeah,
because we have like you have been through, I have been through a lot of changes in your life, and you too, and our lives are really different. I'm married, I have completely different style than you do. You know, I'm married, I have my own family, I do all of these things, and our friendship is still, you know, a good friendship. You have a more like career lifestyle, I have more of like, I'm my husband, I have 2 jobs, I go to school, I do all of these things, and we still manage to have a good friendship and healthy friendship. And I can definitely see you coming and cleaning when I have kids.
I will. I don't cook, but I mean, I can learn how to cook.
Food over.
I'll be like, which one?
Liz, you don't cook. What do you mean?
I just need to cook you something of mine in my recipe book. But yeah, she's the chef. Okay. She's the chef. I'll be like, can you walk me through? Give me like,
so do I put salt?
How much salt do I put? It's like you'll be sitting down with the baby over there, and I'll be in the kitchen.
Do you think Ronnie would really eat your food?
Yes, if you like coach me, give me a chance. Give me one chance.
Ronnie's the one that has to give you a chance.
Yes, Ronnie too. Ronnie, just one chance, please. I promise you'll be. Or like I buy the food and just throw away the containers and pretend that I made it.
He's gonna notice.
He'll be like, "This is from."
He'll tell you exactly.
Oh my gosh. Well, give me some grace, okay? But honestly, I hope you guys got something out of today's conversation. We talked about a lot, but these are the kind of conversations that we have on the regular. And I've always told you, I'm like, I just feel like these are all relatable things to what people really go through. Like, and maybe we didn't answer all your boundary like struggles, but you know, I know that it does come over time. And I feel like first knowing what your boundaries are, like what your needs are, making sure that you're taking care of yourself, whatever that looks like. And you know, if you have any questions, you can always send me a message, or just let us know what you liked about today's conversation. Thank you, Ashley, for being a part of this.
Thank you.
We literally made it for almost the 1 year. So thank you so much. I was like, before the year ends, 1 episode.
Yeah.
So if you want to follow Ashley, her name on Instagram is ash.crispin, I think, or ashcrispin _13.
I don't know.
ashcrispin _13 on Instagram. I don't know if she'll accept you. No, I'm kidding. No, but you can follow her. And if you want anything to share with her, I know that she's pretty open. Like we said, like we're not I hope we don't come off intimidating.
No, not at all.
So if you have any questions or anything that you're experiencing, you know, let us know. And thank you so much again. I hope you guys have a great week, and make sure to subscribe to this podcast, get us to 50 reviews, and I will see you guys next week.